Hey guys, today we're going to do a daytime to nighttime look. So you've been at work all day, you've got your base makeup on, I've got a little bit of powder on, I've been to the gym, got a little bit of mascara on, and we want to turn this from day to night. We don't have much time to take our makeup off and start again, so we're going to work with what we've got and we're going to go straight on top of our base makeup. Many of you will have a bit more of a base makeup than I've got, but I always go for supernatural. So whether you're wearing a bit more makeup than I've got or you're wearing supernatural, we're going to take some tissue and pull it apart so we're left with one ply, and then we're going to blot the skin to remove any excess oils. Also make sure you blot your eyelids. What I've been loving about this Erborian matte cream is that you can apply it on top of your makeup. So you can carry it around with you to work, and if you find you're getting oily throughout the day, you can just tap this on top of your skin and it will help to keep shine at bay. So I'm going over the top of the powder that's already on my skin, and this is going to help to mattify it but also give it a blurring effect and fill in any fine lines and pores. The foundation I'm going to use is by NARS. It's the Natural Radiant Longwear foundation, and I'm going to use my Sportsfx sponge dampened to apply this. So the foundation is medium to full coverage, and this is NARS' first 16-hour foundation. And they say it looks better with each hour that it's wearing, and I would definitely agree with that. The longer I had it on, the more it looked kind of like my skin and more natural, but still with the coverage. It was really lovely. The foundation itself is infused with raspberry apple and watermelon, which is supposed to instantly improve the look of your skin. So over time with wear, it's supposed to support your skin's elastic fibres, which is going to smooth and improve your skin's texture. I don't always buy into the claims with the extracts, but it is a lovely foundation and it definitely does give you a more radiant finish the longer you wear it. This comes in 33 shades and the one I'm using is Punjab. Now we've got a blank canvas. I'm going to go in with the Hoola contour stick by Benefit, and this is what's going to give our face some shape again. As you can see, it looks very flat because it is quite a full coverage foundation, and this camouflages the natural contours of your face. Using a contour stick or a bronzing stick is going to help to put those contours back in, but having it slightly warmer in shade is also going to help to bronze up the skin. That's why we're taking it into the hollows of the cheeks, but also slightly above and anywhere the sun would hit. The product that we've applied to the skin is cream based, so we're going to use a synthetic brush to blend that in. I'm using the 117 Petit Defined Buffer Brush. This one is by ZOEVA. The bristles themselves are slightly angled, which is great for working into the hollows of the cheeks. When I'm working in this area, I like to use a stipple motion because I don't want to blend the product out too far, otherwise we're going to start to just get a muddy appearance to the skin. By stippling directly over where we've applied the product, we're going to help to blend that into the skin, but keeping it exactly where we want it. If you try to do this with a brush that doesn't contain synthetic hair, the cream is just going to clog the bristles and it's just not going to blend as well. I also love this brush because the head of it is actually quite small, which allows you to be more precise with your blending. I love working with creams because it really is effortless and anybody can do it. I'm sure you'll agree with me just watching how easy it is to blend this into the foundation. And it doesn't look like I've got a muddy face. Once all the rest of the makeup's done, it will look a lot more natural, obviously. At this stage, it can always just look a little bit odd. As we're going for a bit more of a full coverage look, as it is a nighttime look, I'm going to use some concealer. This one is by NARS. It's their Soft Matte Complete Concealer. This one comes in 16 shades. It's high coverage, but it's not drying and it really blends into the skin beautifully. It's got a soft focus blurring effect and contains some spherical surface powders that kind of bounce the light back off, diffusing the appearance of sort of dark circles and fine lines. With any concealer, I always like to apply a thin layer of tissue onto the surface, and this is just going to absorb any moisture in the concealer, helping to prevent it from creasing. Also, by removing any excess moisture, this is going to prevent a powder on top looking cakey. The one I'm using is the Under Eye Brightening Powder by BECCA. It's finely milled and contains light reflecting particles, which again is going to help brighten the under eye by reflecting the light. Next up, I'm using MAC's Mineralize Skin Finish Natural Powder in Medium Plus, and I'm going to use this to set the face. It's got a satin finish and it contains low level pearlized pigments, so it gives you that radiant finish but without looking anything like a highlighter or a shimmer. This is also non-acnegenic, so if you do suffer with acne, this shouldn't cause you any issues. Now I'm going to add some bronzer to the skin. This one is one of my favourites because it's a matte finish. This is Hoola Original by Benefit. I'm applying this over the cheekbone area and I'm using the ZOEVA 126 Cheek Finish brush to do this. It's super soft and you just use a light hand to create a really seamless blend. I'm also going to take that around my hairline. This is optional, you don't have to do it if you feel like you got enough colour from the contour stick, I'm adding a little bit more because my body's got a lot more colour than my face. And I also like the finish of the powder over the top of the cream. It just also gives a little bit more longevity to the product. Now before I move on, I'm going to spritz my face with the Too Faced Peach Mist. And then I'm going to pat that down with a powder puff by MAC, and this is going to take down any of that powdery residue from setting the skin. This is a mattifying setting spray and it smells absolutely incredible. It's been infused with peach and sweet fig milk and it's just so divine. So while my face is slightly dampened, I'm going over that with a powder puff in a pressing motion, so I'm not disturbing the surface, but I'm just pressing that onto all the tiny little vellus hairs on our skin to remove that powdery residue. For the rest of the face, I'm going to use this Laura Geller face palette in the Southampton Classic. I'm taking the lightest shade in the palette, which is a creamy shade and it's matte, and I'm using a flat shader brush to push that over the eyelid. When I'm packing an eyeshadow onto the eyelid itself, I always like to use a flat shader brush because the bristles are really dense, so they really pack the eyeshadow onto the lid and you don't lose a lot of colour between the bristles. It also means you get less fallout as well. Next I'm going in with this taupey eyeshadow shade, and it's also a matte finish, and the brush I'm using to apply this into the socket is the Blank Canvas Cosmetics F10 Small Crease Brush. This is like a mini fluffy brush. Its bristles are slightly splayed out, unlike a flat shader brush. This means it's going to allow you to blend the colour outwards, but having it slightly smaller than your generic fluffy blending brush means you can be more precise. If this brush was bigger, like most of the fluffy blending brushes that we're used to, we wouldn't be able to define the socket the way that we are with this brush. We want to create a nice soft contour to the eyelid, which means just redefining that socket line, but very, very softly. Not like a cut crease, but a softly blurred version of that. In between each layer, we'll go in with a bigger blending brush like this one to soften the edges, and then we'll go back in with our smaller blending brush and redefine the socket. And that's what's going to create that soft contour to the eyelid. It's a classic technique that's been used over the years. It's very natural, but also very classy. I'm just layering that up now to build up my desired intensity, and you can do the same. Taking the same small fluffy brush, I'm running that underneath the lower lashes and making sure that we connect that with the outer corner of the top lid. I say it every single time, but it is really important to frame the eyes. I'm going into the slightly deeper brown. This is quite a cool shade and it's got a slight shimmer to it. I'm tracing underneath the lower lashes and also going on the outer C shape of the eye. We're keeping this on the outer C because that's going to be the darkest area, and then we're using our fluffy blending brush over the top to disperse the colour evenly. So with this colour you also want to layer it in light washes. Using light washes is the best way to achieve the desired effect that you want. If you go in too heavy to begin with, it's harder to remove that eyeshadow. I'm going back to some of my concealer. This is a lighter shade and I'm adding this on the inner corners of the eyes, and I'm going to press that in with my finger, and this is going to be a lighter base for our blue eyeshadow. Using something creamy gives the eyeshadow something to stick to, and having it in a lighter tone means the eyeshadow is going to be more true to the colour in the pan. So you can either use your finger or a pencil brush to apply this. I'm using a pencil brush and I'm dabbing this onto the concealer that we've already laid down on the skin. To prevent you from mixing the eyeshadow with the concealer, you want to use that tapping motion. If you drag it, you're just going to create a bit of a mess, and you also will lose a bit of that metallic finish. If you press it on, then you're going to get a really beautiful payoff. I like that it's not a vivid shade of blue, it's kind of like a powder blue, which is really, really pretty and quite delicate, but still really eye-catching. I'm going to take some of my BECCA Royal Glow, and on a small brush I'm going to apply this under the arch of the eyebrow. This is a beautiful gold tone, and it picks up so well when it catches the light. Using my finger dipped into the Royal Glow, I'm pressing a very small amount of that over the eyelid. It will be barely there, but it will catch the light and look really pretty, but again quite delicate. You can see in my finger, this is the shade, it's that beautiful gold. Next up, I'm taking the Bare Minerals Lash Domination Ink Eyeliner in black. This is a felt tip eyeliner which allows you to create super fine lines or thicker lines. What I like about this one is it's really wet and it's super black. Lots of pen eyeliners tend to be too dry and they don't go over the eyeshadow, and the payoff tends to look either slightly powdery or a little bit chalky. This is like using a liquid liner out of a actual tube as opposed to a pen, which I really, really like. I've created a thin line on the inner half of the eye, and now I'm creating a thicker wing. The best way to create a nice fluid line without any jagged edges is to pull the brush or the tip back on itself and then fill in that little edge. If you want a thin line, use a light hand, and then for a thicker line apply a little bit more pressure. Going back to the shimmery brown, I'm now going to take that on my fluffy blending brush and just redefine that outer socket line now we've got the winged liner in place, lightly pulling it out towards the tip. To fill in my waterline, I'm using my Black to Earth kohl pencil by ZOEVA. This is one of the inkiest, darkest black kohl pencils that I've ever used, and because it is so intense, it just seems to last in place all day. You can of course use a brown if you find black to be too intense. And whichever colour you use, don't forget to tightline your eye. I'm going in with a little bit more of the brown underneath my lower lashes to smoke it out a little bit more, and I'm using the cooler shimmery shade to do this. To remove the fall down of powder on our eyelashes, I'm going over it with a thin coating of the Benefit Bad Girl Bang. You can expect your lashes to look a bit thicker because we're layering the mascara, but don't forget this is a nighttime look, so it's all good. I'm going to use the matte finish brown in this palette to just redefine my eyebrows. This is a little bit warmer than I would go for, but it will match the rest of my makeup. As it is an evening look, I'm going to apply some falsies. These ones are the H17 lashes by Eldora. Going back to our face palette, I'm now going to take the blush tone from the palette and work this onto the apples of my cheeks. Not only is this going to brighten our complexion and make us look a bit more healthy, it's also going to help with creating that definition that we want to the face, breaking up that one tone effect from the foundation. A lot of people avoid blush because they feel like it's just too much and it can be quite clown-like, but if you use a light hand it can definitely be your best friend because it really will give you that healthy appearance to your skin. I'm now going in with Royal Glow and adding a little bit of highlight to specific areas of the face. Nothing too shiny, but worked in really well with a brush, it gives a really beautiful sheen to the skin. And on a night out it's perfect. On the lips I'm going to use this soft matte lip cream by NYX in the shade Kyoto. It's a really beautiful complementary colour to the blue that we've got on the inner corners of the eyes. I'm also going to blot that off because I don't want it to be too intense. But to make sure it doesn't go anywhere and redefine my lip line, I'm going in with Confidential Plump Line Lip Liner by Buxom Cosmetics. This is pretty much identical to the lip cream, so if you're struggling to find the colour in the NYX Cosmetics one, then you could just use this pencil. So this is the evening makeup look that I've come up with. It's a nice pop of colour on the inner corners with a little contour to the eye, really simple to do. And I've done this mostly using one palette, and the idea is that if you're going to work you don't want to take a ton of products with you. You will need some obviously, but this little face palette is great. You can use the blush which I've done, you can contour with this, you've got your eye colours, and it will just fit in your bag. It's so easy to carry around with you. So I hope you love the look as much as I do. I don't think I've done just a pop of colour on the inner corner, so it makes a nice change. If you love the look, please give the tutorial a thumbs up. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section below. All the products used will be listed and linked in the description bar for both UK, US and globally. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. You can follow me outside of YouTube. I have Instagram, which is @ShowMeMakeup, and my Facebook is also @ShowMeMakeup. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!